Good evening, doll lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly and lover of creepy dolls far and wide. Look, I don't know what it is, but ever since I learned about Annabelle in high school, I've always had a soft spot for them. So when the powers that be told me that once again I would get to talk about them today, to say I was thrilled would be an understatement. So question for you, who is your favorite haunted doll? Two of mine kick off today's list, so let me know yours in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 scary cursed dolls that are seeking revenge. Number 5, Baby Doll from Hell. Alrighty folks, well today might not be another installment of dolls from my personal collection. That was not right. Alrighty folks, well today might not be another installment of dolls just from my personal collection. This one is a doll that I blocked out of my memory last time I was chatting about my girls. And my dad can't currently find her, never mind the fact that I can't even find what type of baby doll she was on the internet. Picture this, a white baby doll with white blonde hair, wearing a yellow patterned dress, and she has like a band-aid on her hand and she's got some hearts on her body. Like there's one on her skull, I think there's one on her cheek, some more on the band-aid. Oh, and she talks. Battery powered, of course. So if you know what this is, please let me know in the comments because I can't find any creator for it. So the band-aids and like the little hearts act as sensors, repeating, "I love you, mommy." Cute, right? Yeah. So while this was, a cute toy when I was little, it kind of got cast to the wayside as I was growing up, since I grew out of playing with my baby doll style dolls and played more with my Barbies, my Mycenes, Bratz, Polly Pockets, so forth and so on. My marbles. I still have the large trunk of all my Barbies in their shoebox with their accessories in my living room currently, for crying out loud. And that's without mentioning that one of my couches is currently full of my stuffed animals, and I just got another one yesterday. When I was in high school though, I think my mom moved the baby doll from my playroom into my bedroom into an attempt to decorate in her style or something similar. She lived in one of the cubbies above my bed, next to my stuffed, farm Barney plush and my stuffed lion, and also next to the cubby with whatever books I was reading at the time. Look, my childhood bedroom looks like a library, and that's to say the least. Well, as luck would have it, one day I was picking her up to dust around her and she started making noise. "I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy." So I had previously unearthed my Diva Stars doll from her toy graveyard, and being similarly battery operated, knew that if this doll had batteries left over in her, they should have been corroded and non-functional by that point in time. So I flipped the doll over, pried open her Velcro backing, fished out the battery pack, only to discover that she didn't have any batteries in her. At all. Zilch. Zero. Nothing. So hey, at first I was like, maybe I just imagined it. I was a sleep deprived teen after all, and that was during the time I was bouncing off and on Concerta, which don't do that. ADHD's a fun time. I shook my head and kept on with my mundane chores until she said it again. "I love you, mommy." Now by the way, her voice box was still as crystal clear as it had been when I was in my youth, which also confused the heck out of me. So I grabbed her and I brought her to my dad, but her sensors obviously didn't activate in front of him. So he chalked it up to my overactive imagination, and I think I either buried her in my closet or back in the graveyard that was the downstairs playroom. Yes, I was totally scared of going there when I was little. So earlier today, I was trying to find a photo of her, and I was even FaceTiming my dad to try and find her somewhere in my childhood home, and I came out with nothing. Which leads me to the conclusion that she's waiting somewhere in the ether, just plotting a revenge, or I don't want to think about otherwise. If she shows up at my place later, check my Instagram, you'll know. Number 4, Annabelle. So Donna and Angie were student nurses and good friends who had decided to room together while in school, and for Donna's 28th birthday, her mom had gifted her a very large Raggedy Ann doll, something she was thrilled about. Hey, personally I'd be the same way. I'd be like, yes, gimme. Let the record show, Christmas is coming. I am always down to accept more dolls, plushies. Can't go wrong. So soon after adopting the precious doll, Donna started to notice some weird behavior. She would leave Annabelle on her bed every morning behind her locked bedroom door, seeing her the same way with her arms and legs crossed, and would come home at night to the rag doll having moved rooms and in positions that just weren't possible. She's described a few instances of the doll kneeling, and speaking from experience, stuffed dolls can't kneel without falling for more than a few seconds. Now Donna and Angie then started finding notes left throughout the apartment, written on parchment paper in red pen. 2 things they didn't own. When Donna's boyfriend Lou started criticizing the doll, unexplainable handprints and scratches began appearing on his body. And that's when the girls made the decision to call a priest, who then brought in the Warren. Oh, and before that they also brought in a medium who did a seance. That's how we got the name Annabelle. So the Warrens were able to calm down the entity enough to remove her from the house, place her in the backseat of their vehicle, and Ed decided it was safer to avoid traveling on the interstate in case the entity hadn't really been separated from the doll. And what do you know? Ed Warren was correct. In no time at all, Ed and Lorraine felt themselves the object of a vicious hatred. At every single curve in the road, their new car, by the way, began to stall, causing the power steering and brakes to fail. Repeatedly, this car was verging on collision. The 3rd time the car stalled along the road, Ed reached into his black bag, took out a vial of holy water, and threw it onto the rag doll, making the sign of the cross over it. Thankfully, the disturbance in the car stopped immediately, allowing the Warrens to get home safely. Now, for the next few days afterwards, Ed sat the doll in a chair next to his desk, and the doll levitated a number of times in the beginning, but would seem to just sort of fall inert. During the following weeks, however, it began showing up in various rooms of the house. When the Warrens were away and had the doll locked up in the outer office building, they would often return to find it sitting comfortably upstairs in Ed's easy chair when they opened the main front door. It also became apparent that Annabelle hated priests and assorted clergymen. During the follow-up process on the case, it was necessary for the Warrens to consult the priests associated with the incident in the young, nurse's apartment. Now, returning home alone one evening, Lorraine was terrified by loud, rolling growls that reverberated throughout the house. And later throughout the night, when she was listening to the playback on the telephone answering machine, there were back-to-back calls from now a Father Hegan. Now, between his two calls was the incredible growling noises that she'd heard earlier in the house. On a different day, Father Jason Bradford, a Catholic exorcist, had been working with Ed and asked about, the new addition to the office, Annabelle. Now, Ed told Father Jason about the case and gave him the paperwork for his review, and after hearing Ed's account of what had happened, the priest picked up the rag doll and said, you're just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anything. Yeah, you know where this is going, I know where it's going. The priest then tossed the stuffed figure back onto the chair, and Ed was like, hey, that's one thing you better not say, ever again. So when Father Jason stopped to say goodbye to Lorraine, she pleaded that he was, be careful when you're driving, and please call her when you get home, just to be safe. Oh, what do you know? A few hours later, the telephone rings. Father Jason's like, hey, Lorraine, why did you tell me to be careful driving? And she's like, well, your car's gonna go out of control and you're gonna have an accident. He's like, well, you were right. The brake system failed and I was almost killed in a traffic accident. My car's a wreck. Oh, this isn't the only instance of, Annabelle having her time. I know one instance where a young man and his girlfriend were visiting the Warrens Museum and he threatened Annabelle by saying, hey, Annabelle, do your worst. Well, when he and his girlfriend left that day on his motorbike, they wound up in an accident. The young man sadly didn't survive, and his girlfriend was left in critical condition. I repeat, respect dolls, especially those with spirits attached. Please. Number 3, Licca Chan. So the Licca Chan doll, a popular counterpart to the, ever so famous Barbie, was so beloved in Japan that the manufacturer set up a phone line for eager young folks to call and chat with the doll herself. Or, well, they thought they were. Rumors began circulating that some little ones reported hearing unsettling messages from Licca Chan, such as, I'm coming to your house to kill you. Stuff of nightmares. So, how about we just talk about some of the urban legends surrounding this doll that I think are pretty true. So imagine a young girl who might be like a little too old to play with dolls, so like let's say 12, who decides to discard her cherished Licca Chan. She throws it in the trash, family relocates to a new city, as you do. Well, doll didn't leave her alone. One day when returning home from school, the girl answered a phone call from an eerie voice claiming to be Licca Chan, who ominously stated, I'm on the rubbish dump. I was abandoned but I'm coming home. The girl originally dismissed it as a prank, but she got a little nervous when she got more phone calls. Now the final phone call chilled her to the core when the voice claimed, I'm outside your house. Open the door. So she peered out the window, didn't really see anything. Whew, big sigh of relief, and then she heard, I'm right behind you. And that's where that one ended, because yikes, I don't want to know what happened next. But there's more to this cursed doll than you might believe. So the company manufacturing the doll actually made an error during production, so we got a batch of 3-legged dolls, which hey, I'm all for. So even though they were called most of them, some did slip through the cracks and ended up with the public. One particular unsettling story involved a woman finding a 3-legged Licca Chan doll in a public restroom. To her horror, the doll's deformed purple third leg moved, and its tiny mouth whispered, my name is Licca Chan and I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Cursed. The haunting voice tormented her relentlessly, leading to a nightmarish descent into madness. Now, other variations of the legend featured the 3-legged Licca Chan doll playing gruesome games of hide and seek, impaling unsuspecting victims, or even growing a cursed leg on anyone who dared to flush it down the toilet. So yeah, don't throw out your old dolls. Please, they're gonna come back and haunt you. Number 2, the Letta Doll. So in 1972, Kerry Walton returned to his Australian hometown for his grandmother's funeral. During this time, he decided to face a, fear from when he was young by visiting an abandoned building that had scared him for years. And when he went to this house, he discovered an old marionette under the porch. He felt compelled to take it home with him, and they've been together ever since. According to psychics, the doll was made 200 years ago by a Romanian traveler for his son who had sadly drowned. The doll has real human hair, and underneath the scalp is the likeness of a human brain. He was given the name Letta, or Letta, due to his heritage, and also because the doll occasionally screams, "Let me out!" So yeah, the doll's a little quirky. If you take the doll outside, it's gonna rain. And if you bring it into a room, if there's something hanging on the wall, it might fall off. Dogs bark and attempt to attack whenever they're near Letta. And people said that they feel inexplicably afraid and sad when they see him. Oh, Letta's also supposedly capable of moving on his own, changing positions while seated, and emitting a pulse while held. So I'm good. I'm good. Number 1, Robert the Evil Doll. Probably the most, well, other than Annabelle, the most famous doll on today's list. So for starters, this one only looks vaguely human. His nub of a nose looks like a pair of pinholes, and he's covered in brown little marks, kind of like scars. His eyes are beady and black, and combined with his malevolent smirk, yeah, he's terrifying to look at. Clasped in his lap, he's holding his own toy. The doll originally belonged to Robert Eugene Otto, an artist described as, well, eccentric, but what artist isn't? Neighbors of Robert used to hear him having a conversation with the doll, and this continued into his adult years. He brought it everywhere, and talked about it in the first person, as if it weren't a doll. Which, hey, might sound kinda batty, but it's the best way to deal with cursed objects. Now, the doll remained stored in the Otto family home until Robert passed in 1974. Under the age of double digits, daughter found the doll in the attic. Now, the young girl often claimed that the doll was trying to kill her. Yeah, the doll is now on display in a museum in Key West, and he's believed to still curse people. His last caretaker before the museum experienced him disappear and reappear as he pleased, along with hearing footsteps and giggling in the attic. Some claimed Robert's expression changed when anyone badmouthed Otto in his presence. He's also been responsible for a few car crashes, some divorces, broken bones, and some other stuff. So, good Robert, please, I don't need to be cursed. And that brings us to the end of our time, and I'm more determined than ever to track down that dang baby doll for once and for all. If only just to make amends. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more cursed doll content from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.